How's it going, boys and girls? My name is Cowwy and welcome back to the Carrot Club. In today's video, we're going to talk about remote events. This is going to allow you to send data between the client and the server, and we're going to build a tool that can summon parts dropping out of the sky. Before we get started, there is a prerequisite of things that you need to do. The first thing is to give a like and subscribe because that's going to help me a lot so I can keep making videos like this for you guys. Other than that, if you don't know what any of these are, you'll need to go into my Roblox Studio playlist and watch all of my previous videos where I explain what they are. Let's talk about what is a remote event. It is like an email between a client and the server, if you get what I mean. So this is our physical email here. So let's do an example. If you write an email to your friend is going to receive it. That's an example of a remote event. It is a one-way communication where you send something to the server will receive it, and that's the end of the event. The reason why we need remote event is because of filtering enable. If you don't know what that is, it basically means you cannot change anything on the server directly. So we need remote events to help us to do a request what we want from the server to do. So the server can take the message and be like, okay, let's see what I can do. So I hope that this little tiny description makes sense. So to make a remote event is extremely simple. Just go to replicated storage in the Explorer window here, and we're going to add a remote event object. See this icon with the lightning bolt? That's the remote event. And rename it to email, and we're done. Now, if you're wondering what replicated storage is, it is basically a container that the client and server have access to. If you don't know what it is now, you'll know how to use it in just a minute. So now that you got the remote event object set up, next we'll need to build a tool, which is going to be super simple. Go into the starter pack and put a tool object inside. And then make a part and rename it to handle. And that's all we're going to be doing. There will be no model, no nothing. If you want to build something fancy, you can go right ahead and do that. But I like this silly look. The last thing we need is a local script inside. So your tool should look something like this. One handle and a script. Now before we go into the next section where we write the code, create a script inside of server script service because we need to code it later on. So let's start coding with the local script. What we want to do is to use this tool to call the server. Every time I click with this tool in my hand, I should see a part falling from the sky. So inside of the local script, this is the stuff that we're going to be writing. So pause this video and copy everything out. The first line here, I'm getting the replicated storage container from the game service. You have to write it exactly like this because the replicated storage is created in the background when the game starts. The second line, we are getting the remote event from the replicated storage. The third line here, we are getting the tools that we will be holding. And the fourth line, we use the tools activated event. This means that if I have a tool in my hand, every time I click, it is going to do something. What we are going to do is trigger the remote event fire server function. This is like pressing a doorbell when you are at your friend's house. So this line here is the doorbell to the server. So if you got all of this down, let's go to the server script where we will respond to the doorbell. So open up the server script that we created earlier inside of the server script service. Server script service is exactly what it sounds like. It is a Roblox service to run server script. Any server script that gets put inside here will run automatically when the game runs. In our server script, this is what we are writing. The first two lines is exactly the same as the one in our local script. We are getting the remote event object from the replicated storage. This is what it allows the local and server script to talk to each other. We're going to skip to the very last line here with the on-server event for a moment. This is an event that gets triggered when a local script rings the doorbell to the server. And we need to connect it to a Roblox script signal so that you can create a customized response when a player uses the tool. So for this example, I used a function reference called email response, which is this part of the code with the function here. Notice how I have the function name email respond and then a parameter called player. Where the heck did that come from? This is very easy to understand. Whenever a player uses the remote event on the local script, we need to know who pressed the doorbell. So the remote event is very smart. It records that information for you and places it inside of the player's parameter. So if Coffee here presses the doorbell, the player parameter will say it is Coffee that rang the doorbell. For now, you won't find any use for this, but when you are building your own game, you can use this parameter to teleport players around if you want to. But for this particular event, I simply create a new part, give it a new break color, position it somewhere really high, and then place it inside of the workspace. So now if you run the game, you should be able to summon parts out of the sky on the server side. And that's all I have for you today. This is only one part of remote events that you need to know. In the next video, we're going to do the complete opposite, getting the servers to talk to the client. So thank you boys and girls for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, in-game or at the Carrot Club. Take care everybody.